Hello, I'm Angela Parsons from Cilcain, and I'm here to talk to you on this chilly November morning about opening our garden under the National Garden Scheme in 2018 and again the following year. The first time we opened was in 2018 as part of a group of 5 Cilcain gardens, all very different. One had a wildflower meadow with specimen trees and a view to die for. 2 were small and perfectly formed. 1 was behind our village hall and was newly landscaped and planted. And ours. Opening in a group is advisable for NGS virgins. We shared responsibility, had each other to sound off to, swap plants with, and the teas and cakes were organised, made and sold by a team of volunteers in our village hall. A group opening is definitely less daunting than doing it on your own. However, once the realisation sunk in that we were expected to have an immaculate, interesting, flower-filled garden for that one day in July, did cause a few sleepless nights. But our county organiser, Jane Moore, was brilliant in hand-holding and keeping us calm and carrying on throughout. Skip forward 20 years. In preparation for open day, I started in February and filled our conservatory, my little greenhouse 6 by 8 feet. The airing cupboard had loads of begonias in, any seedlings I could grow, any cuttings I'd taken, all with the chance of hopefully being in flower for July. I've sneaked in a photo of my new GT model greenhouse. One of my hens on slug patrol. Our just under an acre is divided into 2 areas, his and hers. Phil likes woodland plants, rhodos and hydrangeas. Here's a few photos of Phil's area in the spring. My area is behind and in front of the house. I love cottage garden style planting. I don't leave the plants to get on with it. I'm usually digging something up that in my opinion is in the wrong place or in the wrong colour. I grow all the veg too. I do lots of weeding, sow seeds of all kinds. Weeding, propagation and, did I say weeding? Phil never compliments me on my part of the garden, and I'm the same about his bit. It has taken me 20 years to get heights right and colour combinations pleasing to the eye. But that's my type of gardening. The photos you've just seen are my bit in the spring. And here's a friendly visitor. Cute, not when they're eating your lettuce. Here's my veg plot, in preparation and later after it's grown up to its fruition. We live in a windy valley where the trees and even my Brussels sprouts grow at a 45-degree angle. The westerly wind blows down the valley quite a lot. No hanging baskets for us. We're 600 feet up, but we manage. About a month before we opened, we had all the hedges trimmed. All the gardeners in the group went out to as many places as we could think of and put up advance notices in libraries, garden centres, cafes. In June, I weeded endlessly and watered the numerous containers constantly. I was on hands and knees on the patio, gouging out weeds between the paving. I trimmed the topiary about 2 weeks before the day. I have 30 box balls and a variety of shrubs that Phil has cloud pruned into interesting shapes. This is the front elevation of our house. It's north facing. This is at the back of our house now. This is my main bit. There are about 3 or 4 wide borders and they're all filled with herbaceous, roses, a few shrubs for the backbone, and you might spot the alliums looking pristine and pink, but they were almost over by the time it was July the 7th, so not to be outdone, as they were still standing, so technically still alliums, I spray painted them silver. This is our patio, also at the back of the house, south facing. The pots and containers you see I've filled with mainly cuttings from previous years and a few added bought ones. And we have a small pond, so a nice place to sit if you get the time. This is a view onto the paddock we bought to extend our garden 20 years ago, which is mainly Phil's part, with a grass maze in the middle and a beautiful prunus Mount Fuji. And in the summertime, he mows around the maze, leaving little paths in the middle. It's very atmospheric. The day before we opened, we all went round and put signs for directions up. I put together a quiz for the children to keep them occupied. I meticulously edged the lawns, went round, daring a weed to appear, and checked the weather forecast 200 times for the following day. Our first visitors in 2018 on the big day were a couple of sheep. We opened the gates to welcome folks, and in trotted 2 sheep. The first human visitors were entertained by me and someone else trying to persuade the woolly pair to leave. They hadn't paid. We were both on hand all day to answer questions, and it was busy all day. I loved it. We opened again the following year. Despite a week before the first time we were involved, I was constantly saying to my other half, never again. After all the hard work had been forgotten about, we had the rest of the gardening season into the autumn to enjoy our space. In 2018, we were fortunate to have the chief executive of the NGS, George Plumtree, visit our gardens with his wife. And we had a write-up by George in the Saturday Telegraph on the day of the garden opening. No one saw it until the next day, as we were a tad preoccupied. There is lots of good advice from the coordinators and a detailed build-up plan from 4 weeks prior to garden opening day provided of what to do and when. So, with all that help, why not consider it? It's fantastic fun, and it just makes you feel so proud. And of course, it's in a brilliant cause. Well, thank you all for listening and watching virtually. Please continue to support the National Garden Scheme. They're going to need it even more than ever with this year being so different and bad and unable to visit proper gardens. Thanks.